Good afternoon, whisperers. Come in, get comfortable. I know that the app is notifying everyone, so I'm just going to let it do its thing for just a second before I get into it, because I told you this was not going to be a long discussion today because it is Friday, it's the weekend, and I know that we got so many things that we're doing. Boy, my camera seems a little high today, but that's okay. We're going to make it last and make it work. I tell you, I'm so excited to be in here. So, I'm just looking over here. I want to make sure that everybody is in where it's supposed to be. Just getting everything situated and having it notify all of the areas that we're supposed to be in. And I'm not seeing, are we live yet? Oh, good. We are. We are live. Okay. So I can go on and start. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome in. It's so nice to be here. Nice to have everybody in. So good afternoon, Whispers. Welcome to Whispers in a Bottle, Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays, the post show. My name is Sonia LeRae. I'm a lifestyle relationship counselor, fashion psychologist, educator, holistic health and wellness consultant, and motivational speaker. We are just wrapping our session over on blogtalkradio.com. Today's discussion was powerful. It was impactful. It was a powerful discussion. It was on being ego driven versus narcissism, understanding the distinctions. And I have to tell you something that literally today, this show was so good. And I'm kind of looking over here because I know that we have a couple of notes that are being dropped in, because I'm telling you, the notes were like coming in fast and furious in our email as well as in the comment section. So many of you all were really putting forth a lot of different discussions, different things that you put out. And it's so funny because literally just before we came live, I had gotten a notice, and I shared a little scenario with you with something that happened on the talk show. And someone said, he's just such a narcissist. And so I am going to lean into the comment a little bit and talk to them when I get off air, because I think it's important for people to realize that sometimes what they think is narcissistic behavior is actually ego-driven behavior, which we really got into today. But this afternoon on here, I really wanted to kind of get into the discussion and delve into reasons why narcissistic individuals struggle to change. And I want us to explore um, 3 reasons of why they can't change. And then also, I want to give you 2 ways and 2 techniques to effectively handle them in your life if you are dealing with someone in your life that is a narcissist. And we are here, our ears are open. I'm glad. It's good to see you. Nice to have you in here. So first and foremost, I wanted to first get into why narcissistic individuals cannot change. And one of the main reasons is its deep rooted belief in superiority. And at the core of narcissism lies like an unwavering belief in their own superiority, or that entitlement that they have. And this is the thing. Um, I will tell you that some of narcissistic behaviors and narcissistic individuals, it has been shown in studies that more than 50% of individuals have genetic disposition. They have actually, their DNA has been passed down to them. And it's this type of form, or this conviction, is their foundation for their personality, believe it or not. That rooted feeling of superiority, that lofty feeling. And it makes it incredibly challenging for them to recognize the need for them to change. So if you think about it this way, why would a person who is almost like in the eyes of themselves, that is perfect, need to change? When I tell you all the time that we are perfectly imperfect. So when they have that kind of view of themselves as being superior, not having the same flaws as you and I, what exactly are they working on? What exactly are they changing? And what exactly are they pivoting? Nothing. So admitting flaws or weaknesses, it really threatens them. And it's not even in a constructive way. It means that it deplenishes their greatness and that you are trying to act as if they are just beneath or minuscule. And that's not the case. But in their mind, unfortunately, because their minds are sick, this is how it is. The second way that I touched on, even in our discussion, didn't really lean all the way into it, but I wanted to lean into it here of why they cannot change is because they lack empathy. And empathy serves as a fundamental building block for personal growth and development. But narcissistic individuals typically lack the ability to empathize with anyone or any other person. Their self centered worldview prevents them from understanding or acknowledging the emotional impact of their actions on those around them. Well, good afternoon. Nice to see you here, Angie. Good to have you in the space with us today. Why narcissistic behavior can't change and yes, we're going to do those techniques. So that's what we're getting into now. And a lot of times when I'm speaking about this, and as a therapist, I really find it necessary to really talk into this discussion. Now, a lot of times, we speak at or we speak on topics, but really to speak into this topic is important because many times people are dealing with individuals that have these enormous kind of personalities and this kind of flaw. And unfortunately, because of it being a brain injury, they're not they're not aware that this is their behavior. They're not aware of what it does and how it causes such a huge impact on people. So the third element that it causes with them when they're narcissists, it's their defense mechanism. You have to understand it's much like some lizards, they have that defense mechanism where they can like put their little, the spurs up on the back of their neck to kind of ward you off. Well, it's the same thing with them. Narcissists employ uh, a myriad of defenses and mechanisms to protect their fragile self-image. And most people don't even realize that they're very fragile and that they have this kind of sheet of glass. And I always say that if you think about it like a incredible that you would just be kind of like blown away because you think because how they're so big and their bravado and how they come out in that stance and everything, they're actually more fragile than you actually can imagine. And their fears outweigh so many things. And most of that fear is things that they have placed inside of their own minds. And even that they feel that, you are diminishing them. So it means that they must always maintain the illusion. Smoke and mirrors. Remember, I tell you that. Smoke and mirrors of having that superiority. Superiority complex is something that you have to be careful of. And especially if you're a gifted individual, many of us have different talents, many of us have different gifts, and we cannot always sip our own drink. I'm trying to think of what the terminology is. They say you got to sip, don't sip your own. I know you guys know what it is, but I can't think of you sip your own drink. But you don't want to do that because what happens is that you start to buy into your greatness and you buy into you being so dynamic and so superior than other people. When we do that, how are we able to change, grow, or even move into a different space and place? We can't. We can't because there's no space for us to even change. There's no space for us to even develop in such a way that we need to move into that space. So it's important for us to get those elements together. So the three elements that I told you that why they can't change is because it's deep rooted beliefs in superiority, lack of empathy, and their defense mechanism. anytime that you are always constantly having to keep the barbed wire around you, there is no way that you can really kind of make any kind of tactical move to really incorporate other practices in your life. Many of us are always on a journey of really refining ourselves, where a narcissist is never in that journey of refining themselves. They are fine. They are doing well. They are the best of the best. But in turn, when we look at them and we see what they're really putting forward, we see where they're lacking and certain elements that they should put in. But unfortunately, because of how they are, they keep pushing us away or pushing that loved one away. So, how do we handle a narcissist, or how do you handle a narcissist that may be in your life that you can actually start to have some kind of um, mind, body, soul connection for yourself? First and foremost, let me just tell you, I teach this in many of my sessions with clients that unfortunately have to deal with a narcissistic partner or are in relationships that are not healthy, but they're not at that space and place of really breaking free from them. Is first and foremost, you must establish clear boundaries. Why? Why would I say that? Because setting firm boundaries is essential when dealing with a narcissist, and clear communication or communicating your limits and enforcing consequences when they're violated. And that's the thing. Now, they understand consequence, cause and effect. They do understand that. Now, they may not, actually agree with you, but they do understand that. And they work inside of that space and place of cause and effect. Well, you did this, so I did that. So they understand that. So if you are putting in proper boundaries and putting things into place in the right aspect, and you have that consequence when they violate it, it's actually going to work, because the consistency is key. Because narcissists are adept to testing boundaries. They're always making sure. If you all are any kind of Jurassic Park fans, and I love the movie Jurassic Park, you remember the dinosaurs. They would keep coming and testing the gate to make sure that that gate was still electrified. But they would keep coming back and testing the gate. Much like narcissists, they keep coming back to testing to see if you are going to hold true and hold fast to your boundaries. So it's crucial to remain steadfast. It is so crucial in this space and place. Matter of fact, you may even think like you're in a tactic where you have to kind of be in that structured way. You do. And avoid engaging in power struggles. That's the biggest thing that many people don't realize. They feed off of that. They love when you get into that power struggle, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to be able to outthink you and out manipulate you when it comes to things like that. Or emotional manipulation is their key element. So instead of, being so flustered, maintain calmness. But don't be afraid to be assertive. Don't be afraid to stand in your truth, because that is a key component to really being able to deal with a personality like that. The second element that I want you to even be aware of is practicing detachment and self-care. Now, self-care in a relationship like this is necessary care. Why? Because if you are emotionally being beaten and you are being emotionally drained and physically taxed, it takes a toll on you. So we have to be willing to nurture ourselves, mind, body, soul. And that means that you have to prioritize your own well-being by practicing your self-care, cultivating your support network. Do not sit and think that you have to hide behind this guise of, I'm okay, everything's fine, we're good. Don't do that, because that's a tactic in their armor and their arsenal that they use, that we are fine, you're fine, you don't need anyone else, you just need me. Don't allow yourself to be put in that 2x4 box, because when they can alienate you in that way, that means they can manipulate you and they can drain you even faster. So it's imperative that you have a good support system, a good network, someone you can trust, someone that you can even develop a safe word with, just in case if you need it, that they are able to come in and rescue at that any point in time. And adopting like a mindset of detaching can actually help you mitigate the emotional impact. So this is the thing. You have to recognize that you cannot control or change a narcissist. Another thing is this. Most people don't even realize, even in your regular relationships with people, you cannot control or change people unless they want to change. So when you are manipulating, or sometimes you get into a relationship, I can change him or I can change her. Believe it or not, that is a form of that ego driven behavior, and even can tilt into a narcissistic behavior. Have you ever dealt with a narcissist before? Yes, I have. How did you manage the connection relationship in real time? This is the thing. In real time, it's just like what you do with anyone else, anything else that you're doing. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, their focus is them, constantly them. So if you're at a gala and you know that you're going to be surrounded with a lot of other people, different things, you always lead. And if it's something that you're at that is for you, you always lead with, this is my partner, this is such and such, he is such a this, that, and the other. But then you mitigate that they are now moved over and talking to someone outside of you, and you are able to move freely, talk with others, come back, and you're still back into that position of making sure they're okay, because it's always about them, but it's not that focus. And you're constantly establishing your boundaries. For me, I'm a big boundary person. You don't get to kind of manipulate. Plus, I can't be doctrinated into anything. That's the other thing. You have to know who you are at all times. And so many times, unfortunately, with people that have narcissistic behaviors, they kind of feed on people that are a little more susceptible to being manipulated, that are a little weaker, or they don't have the same self esteem. Because what they do is they kind of build you up and make you kind of like this beautiful little creature, that they're like you're their muse and everything else, and that you owe everything to them because they have cultivated you in this manner. And that's how they kind of start to manipulate and rotate that ball around you. That next thing you know, you're in a 2x4 box. So I encourage you that if you are starting to realize or recognize that you're in a relationship with a true narcissist, and like I said, everybody isn't a narcissist. So if your mate has not been clinically diagnosed, has not seen a doctor, there's just certain elements that maybe it tilts a little bit, and but he's also a person, or she's a person that comes back. And I wasn't thinking, I was a little crass when I said that. you know I'm going to try to change that because I don't want to keep offending you in that way. That's an ego driven person. That's a person who has more ego than narcissism. And they're willing to change. They're able to change and recognize their behaviors, where a narcissist is not able to recognize the behavior. So I hope that answered your question, because a lot of times what people don't realize is that you have to be willing to have your self value and self worth in check at all times when you're dealing with personalities like this. And it's imperative that you always have support. So if you don't have a clear support team, or you don't have people, get with a professional, because a professional is going to really help you to structure clear boundaries, but they're also going to help you. We help you to structure a plan of what you need to put into place to start to build and to cultivate a healthy session for yourself, because that is something that is key. And don't forget that when you start working on yourself and start putting things into place, you are going to be public enemy number one in that person's eyes, because you are now trying to manipulate, you are trying to change, you are being divisive. Your the problem, not them. So always be mindful of that. Don't be afraid to say no. No is your power word. Your voice is definitely going to be heard, but it's imperative that you stick to your boundaries and you don't overcompensate for their lack. And that kind of becomes a trait too, that you overcompensate or you give the excuse. Never do that. Allow them to be in that space and place that they are accountable to themselves. And like I said, they are aware of consequence. And that is something that they really vibrate and it resonates deep with them. So, in conclusion, I guess I want to say, like, you know, don't be afraid to have hard conversations with people. And don't be afraid to ask for help if you need help, if you find yourself in a relationship with someone that is a narcissist. Because unfortunately, it does take a toll. And if you're not having that right support and you're not nurturing yourself, and it's imperative that you have a good diet, a physical diet, meaning that you're eating and sleeping and hydrating properly so your brain can function correctly. And it also means that you need to also take mindful pauses, being mindful and pausing. It may mean that you step outside of that person and you literally be able to decompress. You may want to take your journal so you can put your emotions into space and place, because it's imperative for you to constantly always know where you are, to tap into the spaces of where you are in your life. I heard a clinician classify narcissism as the opposite of no what wait Oh, yes, definitely. I would agree. I was like, what? Wait. I do agree with that, because this is the thing. Most people don't even understand that. That's a whole nother discussion. It's a whole nother uh, can of worms that I would have to open for that. But this is the thing. I want to say this before I wrap this, because I really got to be mindful of the time today. But I want to say this, that if you are dealing with this in this manner, be mindful of not just labeling people because you feel that they fit a certain characteristic or trait. Um, the worst thing you can do is label someone a narcissist and they're really not. And they are someone who maybe has a big personality, and they may not even be ego driven. They just have a big persona, big personality. You don't want to do that, because you don't want to actually place a blight on that person's reputation. And if the person is a narcissist, the other thing is this: really get with the person's doctor to really be able to get them clinically diagnosed. So this way, you know what you're really up against and if this is the case. And then the second thing is this: place yourself into a space and a place that you're always safe, that you are always practicing self care. And if necessary, even figure out an out plan. If you need to have an exit plan, you must put that into place as well. So, with that being said, everybody, I'm always excited to really come in and have these dynamic discussions. I never wanted to be like a blanket discussion. I always wanted to be very transparent. I always feel that I want to lead in a space and place that really nurtures and speaks into you in a space that connects. And we're faced with so many things in this day and age, and people are faced with different things in their relationships. But the one thing that this particular discussion was important for me to do is to really take that word from being a buzzword and a constant, and everybody is labeled a narcissist when they should not be, so you can get the clear identity of what is and what isn't, and what is ego driven behavior from what is narcissistic behavior, so you can see the true clear traits of both. And that is one thing that I truly wanted to do with this discussion today. And always making sure that you are safe and that we have a great place to have safe discussions. So with that being said, everyone, thank you so much for being a part of Whispers in a Bottle, Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays, the post show. My name is Sonia Lorray. I'm a lifestyle relationship counselor, fashion psychologist, educator, holistic health and wellness consultant, and motivational speaker. Don't forget that we're live every Friday at starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Noom Vibe app. If you aren't a part of Noom Vibe, make sure that you DM us over on Instagram at whispers in a bottle _podcast, and we'll get you an invitation because I'm telling you, the pre-show is just as hot as this post-show is. And the main show, delicious. So I'll see you on the radio as well at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on our home platform at blogtalkradio.com/whispers in a bottle. Don't forget to subscribe to our fabulous newsletter, because I'm telling you, we have some really incredible things going on. We got some new things that are going to be published, and you don't want to miss it. So with that being said, everyone, please be safe. Make sure you take a little time to do a little self-care, and also do a little mindful pausing. You'll thank yourself in the long run. All right, guys.